as our Master Jesus taught. You will see that behind every sight there's a flame shining bright, tiny spark created by God. I will follow your path, Father, 'cause nobody is alone in life, and the scars of my destiny will be healed by your love. Disseminate wherever you are, glowing seeds of love, as our Master Jesus taught. As our Master Jesus taught.
Another day, another flower, another minute past the hour. Someday the sky is blue, and suddenly we can't see through. And every day is a fresh new start, when the sun turns off the moonlight. We get another chance to choose the road we want to cruise, and on the other side of the mountain there's always a whole new road, a new beginning calling after every end. There are a million reasons to pick you up after every fall. It's always a win in the new round. On the other side of the mountain there's always a whole new road, and the new beginning calling after every end. And there are a million reasons to pick you up after every fall. It's always a win in the new round. It's always a win in the new round. It's always a win in the new round. It's always a win in the new round.
How is life in the spiritual world? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
Sometimes it's not so close. Sometimes we build our dreams, but then we see them decompose. When you feel down the dumps, feeling sad and blue, give life a chance, my friend. The sun will shine again on you. Believe you can come through. The rainy days are true. Have little faith in you. Maybe tomorrow you can dream all your dreams again. Though some sorrow remains, it doesn't mean the end. Believe you can come through. The rainy days are true. Sometimes okay to feel blue. Have little faith in you. Dream all the dreams again. Though some sorrow remains, your dreams can get you through. Have little faith in you.
When I go in to pray, I look for my good Jesus. And when I close my eyes, I can feel all His light. I open my heart for all He has to say. He shows me the best way I can enjoy my life. Jesus, they never we apart. Please bring all your light to shine inside my heart. Jesus, Jesus, I can be content. I have your endless love and your protecting hand.
tempête brise la lune, tu la vois. Il faut repartir tout comme elle, puisque telle est la loi. Et pendant ta prière en famille, tous les jours on se reverra. Et pendant ta prière en famille, tous les jours on se reverra.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our public meeting. Before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and find a quiet place to stay during this time, if possible. Our meeting will have a 30 minutes presentation followed by Q&A. Following the presentation, we will have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized.
What is God? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn together about this and many other thoughts. What is
So this is a special invitation for who wants to learn more about Spiritism. Next Saturday, October 1st, at 5:15 p.m. East, we will have an online and free class on our course, Get to Know to Spiritism. The theme of this week meeting will be Allan Kardec and Spiritism. What an amazing topic, right? So if you are interested, join us. The registration link was posted in the chat. We invite everyone to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from the Spiritism Canada and the Spiritism Group Path of Light. And now I invite everyone to join me in our opening prayer. Master Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to be here one more Tuesday to start and learn more about Spiritism and your teachings. Thank you for everything you have done for us, and we ask your protection and your love. Please inspire us so that we can always have a best word, a best action, and the best thoughts in the face of different situations in our lives. Please help us to be a better person and follow your example. May you bless our friend Denise, who will speak to us tonight, and may we can learn from her. We ask you to stay with us today and always. So be it. We would like to announce that our public meeting is being retransmitted today by Continental Conference Americas through their Facebook, and will also be retransmitted every Wednesday at 8 p.m. East by Kardec Radio through their Facebook and YouTube. Everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and we will address the questions at the end of the talk. The topic of today's meeting is Chapter 10, Blessed are the Merciful, Forgiveness of Offense, items 14 to 16, and it will be facilitated by our sister and friend Denise from London. So now I invite our tonight's speaker. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, thank you, Marcella. Good night, everyone. Yeah,
How
it's a
are you?
pleasure to be here. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here talking about such a nice topic, right? That makes
Yeah,
us
it's nice to
really
have you here again. Okay, welcome back.
okay. Okay, hi, good night, everyone. It's really nice to be here tonight talking about such a nice topic. There is forgiveness, something that sometimes it can make a little bit of confusing about. So I think that for me it was really good to study for this moment a little bit more and clarify certain doubts that I have, and even think a little bit about my own behavior regarding this topic and how sometimes we think we are doing it because this is a verb, right? We need to forgive is an action. It's not something that we should be waiting for, it's something that we should be working for. So it's very important that we have this in mind. And I hope that tonight we can study together and learn a little bit more. So we can go to the next slide. I'd like to start with this little passage from the Gospel according to Spiritism, where it says, to forgive one's enemies is to ask for forgiveness for oneself. To forgive your friends is to give them proof of your friendship. To be able to forgive offenses is to show yourself better than you were. So then, my friends, forgive others in order that God may forgive you. Since if you are hard, demanding, inflexible, or if you use severity even against a small offense, how can you expect God to forget that each day you have even greater necessity of indulgence? So I think these words are very straightforward regarding this idea that we have about forgiveness, but it's so connected in the way that we judge people as well, right? The harsh we judge someone, the harsh we will forgive that person. It's really important that we can understand and see the act of forgive as this medication to our souls, because most of us we are stuck in cycles, right? We are in this incarnation trying to work on our issues, but these cycles is not from only this life but other lives. We have been learning, but even though we go through so many experiences, we still have a tendency to repeat the same mistakes. So it's really important that we have that really in our minds, that the way we are trying to judge the others is the way that we also will be judged. If we think about that, it's very understandable, even if we look in the Bible, right? If you are angry and you want to justify the punishment that you think someone deserves, and you want to be harsh on that person, you're going probably to look at something in the Old Testament. Because in the Old Testament, there's more than 600 passages where God was really mad and was trying to give his law of justice in full force for the people. So you have 600 passages only on the Old Testament. And we have a tendency to use these with people that we don't like, people that sometimes we are not even connected. Sometimes the offense is not even with ourselves, it's with someone we like. We listen the story as a third party. and we still want to judge and want to be supportive of that person, giving a hard judgment to that person, to the one that committed something. And we also made the mistake not to think about the action. Because if I forgive something, it's because an action was done. And we have a strong tendency to blame the person. It's really hard to think about correction if we don't think about the actions, right? If we think about the judicial system that we have nowadays, when someone goes to prison, the idea of prison is that people will be re-educated. They committed something against the law and they are going to that facility in order to re-educate themselves. But most of the time, members or people that suffer the actions, they are looking for vengeance. They are looking to go in the full force. They can't look into that individual. It's really rare to see acts of full forgiveness because most of people look into that people that committed a crime, and if it's someone that you like, you want the judge to be, oh, he could be lenient. He doesn't need to give the law in full force. But if it's someone that you don't like, and if that crime was committed against you, you think differently. You want to go into Old Testament way. As a Christian, you can look into the Bible and you can find different things and you can give the interpretation that is convenient for you. But we know that everything done in that part of the Bible most is because in that point in time, in that point in history, humanity needed a more uh, severe feast. So God had to be straightforward and be assertive in the way that He tried to give the passage of what was wrong and what was right. He couldn't give that much of nuances yet because was the intellectual level of humanity at that time. But with the evolution, with the New Testament, when Jesus comes, he can bring more of that. He can talk a little bit more about the act of forgiveness. But we still use our judicial system, the one we have nowadays, more in accordance with Old Testament. People still want to be that black and white, it's right or wrong. And we know there is a lot more than that. Every time there is so many different factors that could play a role in how someone is going to be judged, in what kind of penalty that person will need to go through in order to find and be accepted again in society and fight for its justice, for its forgiveness. So it's really important that we have in our mind that for God, we, all of us, we are their sons and daughters. There is no preference. He's not going to look for Denise or to Marcel or to other person and just say, oh no, I like you more, I will give you advantage. That's not how it works. But also in God's law of justice that is so intricate with the forgiveness act, there is also the act based on your level of ignorance. It's completely different for someone like me, well educated, that is a Christian, that knows Spiritism, that had the possibility to read so many books, to learn so much. If I commit the same crime of someone that didn't had an education, didn't had opportunities, and sometimes committed crime because was trying to survive, was trying to do something to have food in its table, in their table, or something like that is completely different, right? I don't need to do that. That person had a completely different reality. It's really in God's law of justice, the punishment for someone like me needs to be more intense because I deliberately did something that I knew was wrong, while someone else did something because he thought he didn't have another way of doing it. So it's really important that we take that in consideration regarding these acts and regarding the way we judge and we look into the mistakes that are made towards us or towards the one we love. In the same way, why these mistakes could be done towards someone you don't know and someone you don't like. For God, we are equal. So His law of justice never fails. And that's something that we need always to keep in mind. His law will never fail, right? So, in the next slide, I have this passage from Emmanuel that is so important for us as Spiritists because when it says justice without love is like a land without water. So, this is what I'm talking about. If you don't bring the compassion, if you don't bring this into this law of justice, it's like a land that will never be able, it's like a plant that will never be able to grow because it doesn't have the water. So when we look about that, we need to look about the act of forgiveness in ourselves, right? Because this action requires modifications within us, right? It's really easy sometimes if you have someone that you never knew and that person does something to you and you're going to be, okay, I didn't like it, but someone I don't know, I don't care. But when it's someone you love, you have also the tendency to judge so much hard because you put so many expectations in these relationships that you love. Sometimes it's really important also to think that when you think about forgiveness, it's even harder to forgive than to love. Because love, the first love, is it's like something that you do genuinely. You have affinity with that person, you love that person. But when that person disappoints you, sometimes betrays you, or do something that hurts you, you need to rebuild that love. And the rebuild of love, the true forgiveness and this rebuild of this relationship requires a lot more effort, requires a lot more commitment from us. Because that's when you need to put, because while someone is just feeding your expectations, it's completely fine. It's like you feel you're doing your part, that person is also doing her part, and you are doing this nice relationship. But when that person shows that she's human and she makes mistakes and that mistakes hurts you, it's really hard to rebuild that bridge. And sometimes it's really uh, important to have that experiences in our lives, not only with our families, but with our friends. It's very common that we're going to have this kind of experience in your life because forgiveness is something that we really need to work on. Most of us are here right now in this incarnation on earth because we're coming, as I mentioned before, from these cycles where people that mistake we don't forgive. And sometimes it's this kind of feelings that solidifies and crystallizes inside our souls and that freezes us. It crystallizes it's not only one part. It crystallizes in a way that it stops our progress. It really makes hard for us that we could keep evolve, keep growing, and keep going the right path. So I think that one thing that we also do, and sometimes without understanding this concept of forgiveness, is we confound forgiveness with other things that are not forgiveness, right? So I thought that would be really good for us to think a little bit about it because if we confound this forgiveness act, we are not doing a service for ourselves or for the person that did the thing. So, one thing that I think we could start is that we cannot make the mistake to confound forgiveness with trying to diminish the mistake. If someone did something that offends you and you try to pretend it, oh, no, I'm okay, I'm fine, it was nothing, but you feel it was something, you are just make a disservice for that person. First, we need to admit that, yeah, it really hurts us and that sometimes affects is connected to our pride, right? Because we have this tendency to, oh, uh, if I show my fragility, if I show that I'm vulnerable in this thing, then I could be creating opportunity, and I don't want. I want to show that I'm strong, that I'm fierce, that nothing's going to make me feel upset, but that's not reality. We are humans, we have our vulnerabilities, we have our fragilities, and we need to take that into mind. And sometimes people does things that offends us, and we try to pretend it doesn't. So it's something, this is not forgiveness. Pretend something didn't offend you when it did, it's not a forgiveness. So first thing is that we need to be straightforward and say, yeah, it really hurt me. Okay. We need to correct, we need to show that there are repercussions for the acts of that people. It's very common if you have kids or especially little ones or teenagers, we have a tendency even stronger to try to say, oh, it was nothing. And you need to educate that person. You need also to give the chance to make that person reflect in the actions that she's choosing for herself, right? You can say, yeah, it really, I really didn't like it. Really hurt me, and let's try to. How can we avoid it? Try even to come with a plan, right? If it's someone, if it's your son, your daughter, or someone that you have in your life, a family member, try to talk through, try to even understand and talk to that person and see, okay, you did this choice. You're really trying to hurt me, or was just like a collateral effect, but try to have a talk. And sometimes maybe you did something that hurt that person, and that person now is trying to get back to you and you don't know why. So it's important that you have this straightforward and more uh, direct, right? That we could be okay. I felt offended by that, and have these conversations and try to clarify things and not carry this thing with you. But it's not in the confrontation. I'm not a confrontation person. I'm really bad at it. But it's more in a tone of, even if you need some time, you don't need to say right away, right? You can take some time to digest for yourself and then try to talk that person when you feel you are not that emotive, the emotions are not taking control of you. So you can calm down and try, hey, that day you talked to me in a certain way that I didn't like it. So I'd like to check with you if we can avoid this kind of behavior again, or there was a reason that you talked to me like that, and sometimes that person could going through a completely different problem that has nothing to do with you, and you were like, okay, but sometimes could be something directly involving you. So it's good also to open yourself for this moment, right? One other very important thing is that if it's something that you don't believe and is a mistake that person is going to commit, you cannot just try to pretend you agree to prove that you love or to prove it's something that offends you. Uh, there's this example is a very dramatic situation, but could help is that if, for example, someone that you love comes to you and say, "Oh, I want to do an abortion, and I want you to help me with it." If it's something that we strongly against, it's something that we really don't believe. And as spiritists, we know what kind of repercussions that action could cause in that person's life. You cannot be connivant and think, oh, okay, I'm your friend, so I have to do it with you. No, you need to say it really, unfortunately, it's something that I don't agree. You can try to talk to that person. You can try to give your points. And of course, this is a choice of that person, but you cannot be connivant with something that you don't agree, that you don't believe. You know, if it's something that is going to hurt you, because then you're going to carry this with you as someone, you know, like it's you need to establish boundaries of things that you are comfortable with, and it's not just comfortable, it's something that if are you really against, it's something that could completely change your moral. It's something that you believe. So it's completely different, I think, if it's for medical reasons, but if it's a deliberate choice, I want to do this, and you are completely against. And it's not only that, I don't know, even uh, as a spiritist, you know, like here in Canada, is already legally to do assisted suicide for people that has disease and want to just expedite it. Like if it's something that you don't agree with, like it's something that you need to let that person know. And you cannot just try to comfort that person. You need really to say what you believe and do your best, but it's something that is you're going to be participate, and it's going to be could change who you are. So you cannot let this kind of things happen. This is not about being kind and forgiveness. This is about the structure and the moral compass that Spiritists teach us, right? So we need to be assertive in these aspects as well as a Spiritist. Um, when we try to justify something that we want to do too much, it's a clear sign that that is something that is not okay to do it. So if you are trying, I don't know, sometimes, oh, as a woman, I like to buy clothes, I like to buy this and that, but you have a certain budget. If you see that you are like overexpanding or I don't know, over drinking, over something, and it's oh no, it's just this day. Oh no, it's just this other purse. Oh no, it's just because I need another boot because winter is come, I need a new one. If you start to try to justify this kind of things, it's because it's something that is not good. And you are trying to you know bring this idea that oh I should do this for me because I deserve it, and bring these things when it's not something about forgiveness. If you know you're doing a mistake, you cannot forgive yourself before you do the mistake, trying to get this as a good argument to do it. It's just not possible, right? We can't do that. And at the same point, we also need, not related to these easy things, but sometimes if you do a really, um, let's say, a big mistake in our lives that brings the guilt, and we have the tendency to carry the guilt with us, we also need to give our chance and accept that we also deserve forgiveness. The same way we need to forgive others, we need to forgive ourselves. It's a very common way, especially spirits that work as uh, obsiding people. Is really important. These obsessors, they really play in your mind. And when they are able to bring someone to that state of mind where, okay, you don't deserve forgiveness. You should not deserve forgiveness. What you did was horrible. You don't deserve. And you believe that, you start to auto obsess yourself. Because if you don't believe you deserve the forgiveness, you're not going to ask for it, right? So it's something that we need to always have in mind that we deserve, but always also believing that we cannot try to give excuses to commit these mistakes. So we cannot get and try to forgive ourselves before we do something that we know we're not supposed to do, right? Also, um, forgiveness is also not to wait for someone to ask for forgiveness. If someone did an offense for you, sometimes you need to understand the level of that person, especially if it's family member, someone that you need to be connected in your family. It's not someone that sometimes friendships can really get away, and it's okay. But if it's family member, it's so important, this forgiveness. But sometimes these persons, they don't even are in a state that they can admit that they did something to offend you. If you say, "Oh, I'm going to forgive you for that day," they could clearly forgive for what? I did nothing. I was right. I that. And these days, there's a lot of people that really try to pretend they did nothing. And there's a term for this. They now call ghosting, right? Gaslighting, sorry, gaslighting. It's when someone he does something to you and they try to convince you that they did not. So if it's someone that you need to have in your life and it's someone that you see, sometimes you need to do this forgiveness inside yourself, in silence, just for you. You just forgive. But also forgive is not forget. So if someone has a tendency to hurt you and commit mistakes against you, you also need to establish boundaries. Let's say you have someone you love, you have a business, and that people stole from you. Okay, you are going to forgive. Are you going to put that person to be the cashier in our store? No. That person is failing in the aspect of trust. Is someone that is stealing, someone that is failing and committing this mistake. You are not going to put that person, give the trust for her to commit the same mistake again. This person could find this opportunity in another place. You really don't need to put yourself through that. We are humans, right? So we can give the forgiveness, but we also need to have in mind that we should be avoiding this person to have the same opportunity to be committing the same mistake. So forgive is not forget. If that person has a tendency to commit a mistake, if you have a family member with drug problems that steals things from us, you need to be assertive. Like, I cannot give you my house key. I cannot let you in my house alone. I cannot give you money if I believe that you're going to do something that is going to hurt yourself. So it's this kind of stuff that you need to keep in mind. Also, that forgiving is not be lenient, but it also needs to be uh, something that we need to have in mind, right? And it's common that we have. Sometimes what we need to forget actually is the feelings, right? Imagine, like, when I was a teenager, I did so many bad choices in my life, but there's a lot of them that these days my aunt called, Denise, remember that day that I caught you with your friend? I thought, go back home right now. Now I laugh. At that day, I was so mad, I was so angry. But now, when she reminds all that incident and how she tried to help me and how mad I was, I laugh because I was a teenager, I was learning. So I don't have the same feelings. I will not forget the scene, what happened, but I know now that her intent was from a place of love, from a place of taking care of me. But that day, I was really mad. I was upset. I'm not going to forget the incident, but the feelings that I felt, the anger, all that confusing feelings that I was feeling, I'm not holding to them anymore. And this is part of growing up, right? Also, forgiveness is not stop feeling the pain. Some events in our life could be really traumatized and we're going to carry them forever. So, a good example is, let's say that you are like someone involved in a car accident and loses the ability to walk, becomes need a wheelchair to walk, to be able to go to one place to the other. Every day she'll be reminded of that pain because she's in a wheelchair. She has a pain every day, but she can forgive, let's say, the driver that committed that, right? So it's really important that we don't do this mistake that, oh, only when the pain goes away, that's when I'm truly forgiving that person. There's some things that we go through this life that it's more than we can uh, do about forgive. We forgive the person, but the pain is still going to be there. If we read so many stories, Chic Xavier, and there's so many letters to mothers that lost kids, even uh, so many stories, right? And for a mother to lose a kid, the pain is unbearable. It's going to be for the rest of her life, but she's still able to forgive sometimes a person that did something that resulted in her kid's death. But the pain is going still to be there, it's something that she's going to care for her. And also you need to think that forgive is not um, be neglected with justice. As I told you, forgiveness and the law of justice, they are hand in hand. If something committed something to you that requires the justice to be done, you need to let go and going its course, right? As I mentioned, we have a tendency to try to protect and okay, if it's someone you love, you try to embrace it, try to pretend they did not do something bad. But if they did, actually you need to forgive and you need to hold the hand and say, okay, I'll be by your side, but you need to face the consequences for what you did. Right. It's very important that we have in mind that love, justice, and forgiveness, they are hand in hand. We cannot get away from that. And just to finish today, I brought a message. It's from a book from Emmanuel, and I'd like to read. It starts in the next slide. Yeah, sorry. So, there is, however, a strange crisis, and one that afflicts peoples, inaccessible to intervention of public powers, as well as the resources of science in the modern conquests. We refer to the intolerance crisis, that from the bitterness that suggests the discouragement to the violence of hatred, which drives crime, undermines the best moral reserves of the planet, with the consequent destruction of many of the most beautiful human endeavors. For the settlement of the problem, that assumes tremendous importance in all terrestrial collectivities, the remedy is not formed from any political and financial ingredients, as it is found so only in the farmers of the soul, to express itself in pure and simple forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only mental antibiotic capable of extinguishing the infections of resentment in the world organism. Forgiveness between rulers and ruled, wise and ignorant, instructors and apprentices, benevolence between the thought that governs and the arm that works, between the leadership and subalternity. This is from the book Mãos Unidas, Emmanuel, and I think it's a beautiful message for us to think. So let's think as forgiveness is this medicine that we have in ourselves, and the only one that will be able to break the cycles, the only one that could be able really to make you work on your inner transformation. Because most of the challenges these people bring to us, most of uh, the most, let's say, hatred events that could happen in your life, they come for a reason and a lesson. And if you hold to them and you, instead of look to the lesson itself, you start just to point into people you put on your defensive mode on, you are not going to be able to grow because you need really to show your vulnerabilities, put yourself out there, and forgive the other and forgive yourself. So we could really see each one of us as this loved creation of God that deserves and will get the best. Thank you. So we are open for questions now.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you so much for your presentation and reflection on this lesson. It's really important to think about forgiveness, right? Yeah, thank you so much. You brought so many examples and yeah, things to thinking about. Thank you so much. We do have some questions. One second here. First, we have a comment from Publio. He said many people say to they forgive someone fault, but don't forget. Is this a real forgiveness?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it is like you need sometimes to forgive, but as I'm is what I said. Some people that are going to trials and tribulations that is different from you. Sometimes you could be an evolutionary path that temptation that happens for that person is not the same to you. As I told the example of if you have a drug addict in your family that steals and gets things, like you can forgive that person and understand the limitations, but you're not going to forget what that person did. You're not going to give the opportunity for them, maybe to steal from you again, maybe to hurt. You need to be able to bring the idea. Yeah, I forgive you. I understand your limitations, but like I'm not going to leave you alone in my house because maybe you want to steal things from me again. Like I'm not going to give you the opportunity because I know it's a struggle for you. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's that you are facing now. Is it a struggle for me? No, but I know it is for you. So sometimes we have a tendency to put ourselves, oh, I will not do that. But that person is still struggling. So if you put someone, I think it's the same as, okay, grab a kid and put them to do a test that is for high school kids. Like if you get a kindergarten and ask them to write an essay, they'll be like, I don't know how to write an essay. I have no idea. The same is, I think, is if you try to put someone that has that still is under trials and tribulations in certain aspects of her life, and you want to put them to be tested again and again, that person is going to fail again and again.
Yeah.
So forgive is a lot more, but we are not going to forget. We need to be able to forgive and not look to that person and say, this is, we understand it's a disease. It's that person needs help, but sometimes accepts the help and don't. And it's also part of disease. But you need to have that in mind. You cannot just forget what that person did and pretend nothing happened because this just opens a big door for you'll be facing the same thing in your life. And as a Christian, as someone, you need also to try to help that person, right? So I think that when you are lenient, we are connivant with this kind of stuff, we are not helping the person really. It's so easy. That's what I tell my kids all the time. It's so easy to say, okay, it's okay. You can eat ice cream for dinner. Who cares? You know, you're young. You can produce insulin. What cares about diabetes when you grow up? When you be an adult, you do that. It's a lot harder to say,
Yeah.
no, you cannot. You need to eat healthy. We need to eat vegetables. You need to eat this. But I don't like. And I tell them it's so much like we have ice cream in the fridge. It would be a lot easier for me, like just to let you guys eat whatever you want, but I can't because I love you.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that for everything there is a consequence, and I need to be the one guiding you and teach you. So I think when these persons come in our life,
Mm-hmm.
we also have the opportunity to be a master and a guide. And if we could, we should embrace it.
Yeah. And forgiveness and forgetting are two different things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, very different. We
Yeah.
need to have this in mind, even to help how to forgive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we forget, that's not going to help us. Sometimes we need to remember, even to help ourselves to forgive.
Yeah, yeah, because I think if you forget, maybe in at some point you're gonna bring this up to you and you're gonna feel everything bad again, right? So if you
Yeah, all the
really,
feelings will be back. I think the
yes,
forgive is different from I think you react when you don't forget, but you forgive, truly forgive. The difference, as I told, is the feelings.
the
You're
feeling,
not
yes.
going to be carrying the feelings. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this person did a, let's go to the drug addict again.
Mm-hmm.
Did one time, and the first time, like, I can't believe you did it, explode.
Mm-hmm.
You understand all the situation, say, okay, I forgive that person. If you open the opportunity to that person to do again, you need to calm down yourself and say, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
knew this could happen. I forgive that person. I need to talk in a different way. I need to try to give guidance in a different way.
Yeah.
But you cannot hold on to angry and these feelings that made you speak things to offend the other, right? Because it's just you go back to the cycle that you're trying to break with the forgiveness.
Yes. And we have another one, another question. Paul is asking, what do you consider to be a greatest challenge to forgive our neighbor's offense?
I think the greatest challenge most of the time is when he offends us with things we also do to others. You know, the mirror
Mm-hmm.
thing, and it's so common that this is the lessons that will be the more often ones that will happen more often, and because that goes back to you, right? And sometimes you feeded that person, and when that person acted that way to you, you feel like I can't believe like that person could do to someone else and you will be okay, but when it was to you, then that was the problem.
Our
And I
pride,
think that
right?
when brings, yeah, that when brings us to reflect, really,
Mm-hmm.
especially sometimes we try to be lenient with little things like gossip or something, oh, someone tell you a gossip and you pass that gossip on, and then one day you heard that that person is also gossiping about you, and that, it's something that, oh, I thought that we gossip about the other. She's gossiping about me now, So I think this is one of the most challenging ones, is when it's things that we do and come back to us,
Mm-hmm.
because we can go to that space that, oh, I don't deserve the forgiveness because I did that one too.
As you said, everything that we do, there is a consequence, right?
Yeah.
So,
So I think, yeah, this is one of the most uh, challenged ones, is when it's the things we do and they come back for us.
yeah. And we have the last one from me.
Yeah.
This is such a delicate topic to think and act on. We know that we need to forgive offenses, but it is still so difficult when we have our pride and selfishness so high in our lives. What can you tell us as a suggestion to overcome our difficulty in forgiving?
I really think about God, and His love is equal for each one of us. So if you look to that person and think, okay, this is also part of God's creation, is my brother, is my sister, and it's failing. And what can we do to help that person? Like sometimes I think it's good if you could try to look from an outsider perspective, because when we let ourselves be completely involved in our emotions, the anger, the bitterness, that really cloud our judgment. So it's really important that we could take a time, you know, get away from the situation a little bit, try to disassociate and look from a different perspective. Another thing that I really like, and I do it for myself, is just if I'm going through some situation, especially if I feel it's unfair, because that's our tennis, right? When someone offends us, and I don't, this is not fair. I can't believe this person did this to me. Just open the gospel,
Yeah,
read a passage. It's just a short paragraph.
yeah.
It's going to be, it's going to bring you back to. We have like, why not me? This is the question
And
that I always say.
the passage
Why not
always
me?
gonna be for you, right?
Yeah, why not me? Why not me? Why I think that, oh, uh, could happen to me too. And if it's happened to me, why? Why does this happen to me? How can I take the most of it? How can I do my best to overcome this situation and really learn from this lesson, so next time I can go to a different lesson, not the same one.
Okay, thank you so much, Denise. Thank you so much for your reflections. We need to think and act, no, right? No,
Yeah, as I
think.
told, it's an action. It's not
Yeah,
a passive one. We cannot be waiting for someone. Oh, do you forgive me? Yes, I do. That's not how it's going to work.
yes.
It's something that we need to work within ourselves, for sure.
Okay. Once again, thank you so much, and you will be always welcome here. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye. Okay, now we are gonna move to the preparation for tonight's spiritual treatment. Pass. Sorry. Thank you for the participation in the chat. And pass is the transfusion of spiritual energy with the goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. Passes help us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with real healthy and positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from passes, please follow the audio instructions or remain in prayer. You may close your eyes to help with mentalization. During the past, the water you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that you and your family can benefit from. We will now make a prayer in preparation for the past, which will be our closing prayer as well. Okay, so once again, I invite everyone to join me and close our eyes, and elevate our thought. Master Jesus, thank you for your mercy and for all the learnings we had tonight. We ask you and the good Spiritist to help us to absorb all the blessings of this spiritual treatment. May this treatment help us to feel better we than when we started. We ask your blessing for this week and for this night. Please, Master Jesus, help us, our family, our friends, and all the humanity, teaching and inspiring us to think and act with love and charity, and to think and act forgiving everyone. Please, we ask you to stay with us today and always. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, of pain, let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our Spiritist Center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The pass begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm, not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil, washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light, surrender to it, involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that it may be of help to us when we drink it after the pass. Thank you, God.
I would like to thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back next Tuesday here on Spiritism Canada and Continental Conquerors Americas at 8:30 p.m. East, and next Wednesday on Kardec Radio at 8 p.m. East. Have a good night.
Jesus Christ, let us preach the peace, let us preach the love, and this world already wonderful will be much more. Get up, look at the sky, in the earth where the flowers bloom with sunshine. Let's hold our hands and be together on this road. Then we take peace and love and spread it to the world.